This is the new menu UI, if you heard about it. This is in the background, Cutter's rig from the previous video. So if you heard about the new UI, it's very snappy. It looks pretty good. Building block style tech, it looks like. Let's get right into the Donboro video. Welcome to Donboro, aka Megaton, on the Microtech planet. This is a brand new location in 3.22 that was revealed in EPTU so far, and it is still in heavy testing, of course. Reminder, this is a test version, so some of the textures are missing, some of the textures are unique and really interesting looking. There's invisible walls and such. It's all part of the test. It should shake out with the test. This is a derelict settlement, and this is the first derelict settlement of this size and scale with some services, I'll get into that, that I've seen that actually seems to be not hostile. So it's very welcoming. They have a lot of guards, which is NPCs walking around with weapons, that seem to be keeping the peace. I didn't want to test how effective or not effective they are. But the location has a lot of interesting little things, like such as that, for example, go to heck the KRF, and talking about some of the independence of this location. This seems to not be a Duster's location. This seems to be a location for independent colonists. So these are people that don't necessarily adhere to all the rules or beliefs of the UEE, but they are doing their own thing, and they may not necessarily want to shoot on sight everything that moves. That mantis there is actually an NPC that won't stop scanning everything, and that spirit is a player as far as I know. Now, the location is a little bit busy, so do bear in mind it does have actual buildings, which do not have closable doors, but they should protect you possibly against a bomb. We'd have to test an A1's bomb drop, unlike the oil rig that we explored, Cutter's rig, in the previous video. Now, 3.22 EPTU has some exciting new locations with this derelict settlement lineup. And one of the more interesting things is these are lootable locations with stores, actual kiosk locations. That's kind of the service I hinted at just a moment ago, that have like everything from food to eat up to heavy armors like Marakov armor and such. I know I'm mispronouncing that. I apologize. But the point is, you know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. There we go. You'll see it in a couple minutes. The pieces of these larger ships, mostly reclaimer wrecks seem to be the theme in the derelict settlement pack, tend to be turned into homes. You can see these lootable crates that you can carry and pick up. They're very useful. Earlier in my exploration, when I quickly ran through this location, I took a tier 3 injury and I had some health issues, some health loss. So I started trying to grab loot, so it was actually quite useful. I also found a Luminalia pen flare and a few other things in these loot cases. Most of the loot currently, at least in the EPTU on the builds that I'm in, are currently like in the center of the town, and they're in just a couple loot boxes. And you're going to see in a moment that the locals tend to be a little interesting. You'll see in just a moment. So what I'll say is, when you do run into other players here, this is not an armistice zone. So mind your manners. And you should go far, at least in testing. When it comes to public, I can't help you. I really don't know what to say. So, like I said, mind your manners and you should be good to go on testing. Can't help you in live. This place is going to be a very interesting place in just a few towards the tail end of this patch cycle. Especially even in the testing when it hits PTU and then it goes to much higher wave numbers, and basically everybody's hanging out in here. The etiquette in the experimental PTU, which is where this is, and also in the PTU for lower wave numbers, tends to be pretty relaxed, pretty consensual PvP only type of thing. It's not a hard and fast rule, but in general, you really don't have to worry about too much. As long as you show you're good to go and you're not there causing them trouble, they won't cause you trouble. So you can see that I have some of the bugs. I wanted to leave this in to show you that there's a multi-tool bug right now. As a reminder, if this is too in the weeds, be sure to jump chapters. But right now, the lifeguard attachment seems to be bugged out on this patch cycle. There's a few other things that are pretty bugged out. Um, so for every little thing that we're doing, like the FS9 and the getting 75 rounds of ammo and other crazy things, it seems like some of the tools tend to take a hit. They tend to do some weird things, at least based on my interpretation of what that is. You can see how it's kind of stuck on and it's kind of like bugged out, partially fixing at least the health pool, which is, to be fair, what the limitation of the device is, but that should have went to 100%. So just wanted to leave that in and kind of show some of the UI things that are happening. Just once again, just as some UI things are fixed, like the main menu UI, there are some interesting things that are happening on the UI in game. And there's our friend, the player, leaving in their spirit. So there is some interesting armors to be had around this area. So if you like collecting different kinds of different scales, there is heavy armor for sale inside the only main store that we can access so far. However, there are lower level armors on the guards all around the area. Whether you want to take advantage of that fact or not is up to you and your play style. This one I found like this. I did not do this to this guard. And just bear that in mind, though. Once again, there are other armors, there are other weapons than whatever you can find in the store. But actually, those weapons you can find in the store. But I just wanted to note that there are other options. When you're not in an armistice zone and you're out in the wilderness type of situation, take advantage of what you have more than anything else. So, as promised, there is armor. There is proper store in this location, well, kiosk anyway. And it's at the base of the upper part of the Reclaimer wreck. So if you've the tallest part of the town, the tallest tower, the tallest wreck, if you go in there right at the base of the unit, there's a fire. And if you go, I can't believe I'm giving these directions, but next to the ongoing bonfire at the base of the large Reclaimer wreck, upper Reclaimer wreck piece, there is a store with armor, weapons, and food. So it's pretty nice to see. It also has hydration as well. So that's a nice setup. So Morozov, there it is. Eventually I'll get the name right and pronounce it correctly. But you can see these nice heavy armor sets. As a reminder, I just showed you the creative method to get light and medium armor class stuff. That if you don't find it in the loot boxes, there are creative methods if you wish to go that route to find that stuff. So this place is a prime location to get all sorts of different kind of loot. And while it's not the most plentiful for loot, it does have a reasonable amount. And it also has a good selection of gear. Now, I will stress, though, that if you're listening to this in a future patch cycle or later in a patch cycle in the 3.22, the AI might get a little more clever and it might be more plentiful. And so you probably want to remember that not just being gracious to players might be a good idea to also be gracious to NPCs. Right now, the reputation system is not really in yet, but if this does get revealed in later parts of 3.22, if reputation is brought in, at least the lower levels of it, of like this tracking system of long-term reputation, you wouldn't want to really just go around taking down NPCs from a specific group. Right now, you can kind of get away with it. But in the future, be careful. So you can see that there's a bunch of different weapon systems to choose from, some interesting paints for them. You can see that the armors are kind of on display, at least the heavy armor, the Morozov set. And in general, I like the amount of stuff that's here. It's almost overkill for this location. This is clearly a large settlement for this derelict. It's like a flagship. Note the grenades, by the way. And note the price on those. It's not very much at all for what you're getting. Right now, those grenades are actually pretty incredible. We've seen that there's some weird nuance right now, at least if they haven't addressed it yet, where grenades are doing damage to players that are inside of vehicles. And we don't know if that's intentional or if it's going to be changed over time. Ground vehicles in general have been very buggy, but this was something new with the more and more we're seeing grenades and other thrown weaponry. It's kind of changing the dynamics of some of those things pretty drastically, because ground vehicles used to be buggy, but it wasn't that you were vulnerable inside of them, except unless somebody pulled out a railgun, and those used to be rare. We did just have railguns for sale at the IAE, but that's one wipe away from those going away, if the wipe pulls those. If and we have seen railguns for sale inside of the checkmate station in Pyro. Now, that's if that will be allowed, and if there is a reputation system, I'm certain that that would require a reputation with them, because that is literally on the drawing board for Pyro, that you'll require reputation with the gang to be able to purchase something that powerful and that portable in the same package. But with more and more of a plentiful amount of railguns, it already brought up questions of foot versus vehicle, especially armored, weaponized vehicles. And then the new thrown weapons, the more and more we're seeing more grenades be fleshed out, and the more powerful they get, that opens up even more doors, because grenades are far more plentiful than the big railguns are, and they're very cheap for what they are. So we'll see how they balance out the game as they kind of become more mature as a weapon system. And you can note some of the other armors in here. Like I said, you can get creative to get your lights and mediums, but if you want to toe the line and not do that, they are for sale as well in here. They are here. And remember, you still have the loot boxes in the middle of town. So the main attractions here is that you can buy all your gear at a location that doesn't necessarily have the same levels of requirement to get in and out of it, crime stat wise, as New Babbage would. Also, if you don't want to go wandering through New Babbage just to get to this type of equipment, or if you just don't like dealing with the large cities, this is not a bad spot to check out. I honestly, it even is, I would argue, an alternative to a station or up in space. Because plain and simple, you don't need a helmet here. You don't need the same level of docking and dealing with all of that as there. You and your friends can just kind of plop down here and be like, hey, I'll meet you over at the bar over in Donboro, and just hang out there. See another NPC with a pretty good loadout there. Pretty interesting loadout. Like I said, I'm not trying to make waves, but that there are creative methods to get all sorts of different equipment. This place is very big on resources. I wanted to show that there is multiple boxes throughout here that are not accessible for looting. And you can't hear it, but I'm complaining to myself about that some of these boxes look like they belong, that they should be loot, but they're not, which is unfortunate. And I guess that's a blessing and a curse. If the same exact loot boxes keep showing up here, there, everywhere, but at least they're carryable, that's nice. But at the same time, they start looking generic, and all of these interesting set pieces start feeling less impactful because they can't possibly have loot in them. They can't possibly be interactable. Even if I could just place things in them while I'm for example, that container, that open container, that long milk crate looking thing. If I could just suddenly just take a lot of items that I'm looting and throw them in there, or resources I'm harvesting just outside of town, like if I start hand mining or something, that would be very interesting for dynamic gameplay. And we're not seeing that with some of these loadouts. Now, to be fair, this is the infancy of big places like this, the Derelict Settlement System, and I think this is truly a very unique outpost. And even with all of its bugs and its very limited stance on some of its loot and its kiosk system and such, I still think it's very powerful, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. I do want to add a small note here about invisible walls. Some of the times it will feel like you're in a 30K or something else, dare I say it. You're not. Most likely, if you hit F4, you'll be able to see with your advanced camera in third person, you'll be able to see that you're just running in place. And what's happening is you're hitting these walls that I'm kind of running through here and there. Some of these look like they're open, but they're not. The collider is still there, and the wall itself is it exists. And I think there needs to be a polish pass on this location for all these random colliders. There's one location labeled scrap. If you stick around towards the end where we have some freeform where me and Toast are exploring, you'll see that that location does not allow you to even get at the kiosk because there's so many colliders blocking you. And I, to be fair, I do speculate that possibly it's there to block people from going there. And there could be a variety of very good reasons that's the case. Now that I'm talking about it now, for the record, when you listen to it later, I won't mention this, but it is possible that maybe it could crash the server by opening that kiosk. We have seen stuff like that in the past where they'll block something off because it's not ready yet. Could be that there's a surprise there that they're just trying to hide, and that's fine too. Or it could just be simply the colliders just think they're in the wrong building or something. Like the actual colliders are not dressed up correctly yet. They need to be carved out and really lined up with the building they're sitting on top of. It's a shop terminal inside the bar, so it is a nice little touch. We think that like when later on this bar is fully set up and running, there is going to be the ability to like deliver here, so you can keep the beer flowing to the town, or potentially buy out. I would suggest now buy alcohol to take with you on your journeys outside of town. Once again, it's a fleshed out small town. I don't see this as just a tiny settlement. This is a significant settlement in size, and there's multiple workbench style locations. There's habs here. I'm not saying players could live here. I don't know. But I am saying that there probably will be mission givers at those locations, like those mechanic workbench locations. And there might be stuff to loot from those locations that you have to sneak into town and take. So I could definitely see a lot of emergent gameplay around these derelict settlements. And this is just the tip of the iceberg with the whole Dusters plot and the independent settlers. Some of the things that we're going to be involved with are going to be very interesting, I think, coming very soon. So more to come on that. In general, it's a very interesting location. That's the scrap location I was talking about a few minutes ago. This is the location with the most invisible walls in the town. We had a lot more that we had to deal with, but this one you physically can't get into the building. And if you press F4, you can see you're running into walls, and then you'll actually start climbing into the sky slightly. I mean, like to the height of like the upper part of a building. And literally it's like there's invisible walls around the back, the front, the sides, inside the building. It can get a little frustrating sometimes trying to work in these areas, but we make it work and we have a good time. And that is Donboro as of 3.22 EPTU. And I gotta say that it is one of the more interesting locations. I am much more interested in this location than Cutter's Rig because it's not as much of a death trap, to be blunt. And I feel much more comfortable here. The landing location is significantly larger. You can land at any direction, come in and be comfortable, and then go and get gone whatever direction you want to go. Whereas Cutter's Rig, there is only 2 landing locations that are truly like properly set up. And that can be very frustrating for players, especially on live, when you can have people with different intentions than you that might be knocking it out. And yeah, this is the town I'm going to lie my hat today. All right. I'm going to put the rest of this video on here. It's going to show some of the exploration around the town. Either way, thank you to my long subscribers for sticking around. And please be sure to check out Toast's channel if you haven't already. She just put up a wonderful exploration of hangars that is really cool. And I love that type of emergent gameplay and exploration gameplay. I'll put her information in the pinned comment. Thanks again. I don't even know where like the official landing zones are here, but I guess we'll see them once we're on the ground.
There may not be one.
What about the wine bar? What about the the convenience store? Okay. So yeah, I think this is a pretty good explorer. I know some people are, you know, iffy about the ship, but it's got its promises. It's got its bonuses. One of my biggest frustrations is the crew-only airlock elevator is the only way on and off the ship, but aside from the big elevator inside the vehicle bay or the snub.
It is a little weird.
This is by far like the most difficult part of this ship. Is just if they add a staircase to the side of it, it'd be so much simpler. Okay, I'm seeing people wandering around pointing guns, so just be careful. It is EPTU, so it's not the end of the world, but still. Um, they're looking off in random directions. I genuinely don't know if they're hostile or not. I'm just a warning.
They kind of seem like NPCs.
Oh, they definitely are NPCs. I just don't know what their deal is. I guess just be ready to hit the 1 key and start shooting.
Okay.
So, what in the world is this supposed to be?
A missing texture?
Yeah, it looks that way. In Palia, they just started doing their holiday event. They have these Chappa loot piles where the idea is that the local little creatures that are like little beaver looking things stole like all the Christmas presents, so we got to go find them.
Hmm.
That reminded me of the Chappa loot piles because they've got shiny stuff on top of the junk.
Eh,
All right, they look aggressive, but these guards just seem confused or something.
found a bar.
Ooh, indeed you did.
If you can call it that. Oh, here's one of the terminals.
Swell.
Donboro.
Um, these are some interesting NPCs.
But
There
there's
is
nothing to buy.
there is one NPC sitting on the couch in a bra and a gas mask.
I like them. You do you. Yeah, there was nothing to buy from the terminal.
Yeah, it's weird. Although this is obviously added to buy and sell. Some of these things tend to be like restocking this place. Game over and sticker that comes from Pyro Checkmate Station. Same type of
Mm.
graffiti. They're reusing some stuff, and that's fine. It's not a big deal. Look at this wind turbine. Look at how there's a little generator attached to it, like a little wind electric generator.
Ooh.
Just be careful. There's no OSHA here.
Not as tall as I would have thought. I mean, like, yeah, definitely up here, but
You're definitely up there.
oh, that might be where the other store is.
Most of these are habs. I found a poker game area. It's like it doesn't actually have like a game. It's just like, you know, for show, but it is neat.
No, I see you.
I'm going like house to house right now. I found a scrap dealer.
Ooh.
Uh-oh, please no, please no. Okay, cool. Oh
Are you
no.
thinking 30K?
I don't know. Are you having issues right now?
Not at the moment, as far as I can tell.
I think I hit an invisible wall. I'm flying into the... I'm like running off into the sky trying to get to the scrap dealer.
Hang on, I'm coming. They don't have these ladders very well marked.
There's like a whole wall I just climbed that doesn't exist. But it exists, and it stopped me.
Oh my god, there's so many ladders.
Okay, I got in, but you have to go through the other side. You can't go through the main door.
Mm.
Oh, I can't get to the terminal. I am a hair away from the terminal right now. Why in the this scrap shit has 2 terminals in it, and it is bugged as all get out. It's like they do not want you near them. Oh, oh my god, this room's packed with terminals. There's 4 of them.
Coming. I'll take a
I
look at it and then
can't
I gotta go.
I can't get in. Hang on, maybe if I crouch. Maybe if I crawl in. I don't know if it's an NPC or a player. No, usually on PTU it's not a big deal. There's a ladder on this side, if you can get over here. How did you get up there, though? Did you do the running thing?
I climbed the invisible wall.
This is really weird. Once again, I can't help but think they did this on purpose.
Yeah, I cannot seem to get past this barrier.
Well, then it's truly undoable if both of us can't hit it.
Yeah, but neither of us have a gray cat either.
That's true. I could have brought one, I mean, to be fair. But I
The
should have.
gray cat can get past anything.
How in the world are... There's got to be a way into this massive monolith thing. Yep, over here. There's a ladder.
God, there's invisible walls everywhere.
Apparently there's a loot somewhere around here.
All right, we'll get to the top. And then I gotta go. Hi.
So,
I didn't know that you stopped there. I thought you came up to the very top.
yeah, I came to this, I guess it's like a piece of reclaimer wreck or whatever the heck this thing is.
It does look like a reclaimer from up here. Whoops. Ow.
You still alive?
Yeah, I'm at 57%.
Do you have 1 more minute to bedlog, or are you calling it quits right here?
Nah, I could. Well, I just slid off. Oh, I'm at 24%. I'm still good. I have a tier 3 injury on a leg. Can I not use my leg? Oh no, I can. There's just invisible walls.
Yeah, I have a tier 3 injury in my leg too. I just jumped down just for the.
Yeah, I can bedlog. I was thinking I'd have to use all those ladders, and that would have taken way too long.